Hello and welcome to Make It Work, the bi-weekly podcast where we uncover inspiring stories of modern working mamas in Asia who have redefined their career paths whilst putting family first.
Hi, I'm Sarah Wong, and today my guest is Anna Breimer. Originally from the Netherlands, Anna has now lived in Singapore for the past decade. She's a mom of three, an ex-McKinsey consultant, and solopreneur of the Breimer Group, a leadership development company which has trained top tech leaders in Asia. Anna brought much vulnerability, candor, and passion into our super engaging conversation. She spoke on why she's triggered when people imply that she took a career downshift, how she got over postpartum depression, and shared her secret of an amazing, equitable marriage. And it's not what you might think it is. So let's dive right in.
Hi, Anna.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So good to have you. I'm so excited to have you share with us. So if you could, in 2 minutes or less, tell us about yourself and your story.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna. I have my own business in leadership development and top team effectiveness. I live in Singapore. I've been here for over 10 years. I came here when I went to business school in Seattle. I'm originally from the Netherlands. That's where my career started in a totally different area. I'm by training an architect. And in between, I was for close to a decade a consultant with McKinsey and Company. And when I left, I was an associate partner, which is sort of like junior partner. I have three kids under 5, which is fantastic. My husband is an entrepreneur as well. I think that's about as much as I can tell about myself.
Awesome. That's a lot, especially with 3 kids. I have 2 under 3, and I am amazed at how much you can handle. So maybe it'll be interesting to hear on how you actually juggle it a day. How does a day in the life of Anna Breimer look like?
Well, maybe to start first, right? I'm not doing this by myself. I have help. I think if any advice, like get as much help as you can. Throw money at the problem if you have money, but even, if you can be creative, you need really all the help. And I'm going to answer your questions too, but it's a very modern take that we need to solve all of these family challenges within this small nucleus family of mama, papa, and the kids. It's only like the generation of our parents and the grandparents. There was a lot broader social circles, right? So please get all the help that you get. I have a lot of help, which makes me do what I do. But a day could be very different. My day starts usually as early as 6 in the morning, and I have my kids, so I hope I can let them sleep while I get ready. I'm a very last minute person. So usually I still write activities I come up with in the morning of the program. And then it can be from, say, 7:30 onwards. I'm on the venue and I run the whole program with young leaders until like 6 p.m. or we have dinner or anything. So those could be very long days where I'm really switched on the whole day. And I think today is a nice sort of calmer day where I can take it easy. I could have taken my kids to school, but I didn't this morning. My husband will pick them up. But yeah, tonight I'll be with my kids and we'll just hang out, do simple things. I think with your kids, you don't have to do big things every day, but just being there and sitting with them and playing or taking them for a walk. I think that's where memories are really made.
Thank you for sharing that. It seems like your day is really packed with things that you are really excited about for your work. So tell us about that transition from consulting to where you are today. Talk a little bit about how that changed as you became a mom.
So I don't think becoming a mom was the reason why I changed, but I do think it was one of the factors that played a role that made me rethink how I was spending my time. And I think first and foremost, look, I loved my time with McKinsey. I have so much to be grateful for. I really always say I am the person I am today because of that. And I felt that at that point in time, it was good. I think sometimes, you come to this natural moment of, okay, this is where I'm happy. This is where it feels right to move on. I was doing 500 flights in 5 years and having a little baby. I know I could have probably designed that differently, but it would not have been easy. Anyways, so I think that was one. I wanted to really be home and I wanted to see my daughter grow up. But I also felt that from a career and personal development perspective, it was a challenge to me to think, could I do something on my own? It's really looking in the mirror and thinking, can I do this with myself? Is that going to be enough? And when I started my business, I was not prepared well.
You were also with the newborn, or?
Yeah, so after maternity leave, I decided not to come back, but I took extended maternity leave also because I went through postnatal depression. For me, the change of becoming a mother was a seismic shift in my life. I needed over a year or more to comfortable with that new identity. I was at some point in time presenting to the board of really big companies in Asia. And 2 weeks later, I was sitting with a newborn screaming and crying, and I didn't know how to breastfeed, right? And I
Mm.
had barely any friends and family around. So that was a very impactful shift. So I took my time to sort of get used to that. And I know somebody told me when I expressed my plan of like, no, I'm not coming back. I'm going to go start my own business. He said, oh, that's so stupid. But with hindsight, I kind of know what she meant, because when you start your own business, you don't have any structure except for the structure you make yourself. And I'm not a structured person. Like my kids don't have a structure. We don't have any routines or anything. So you can kind of understand it was quite messy. And then I also like, oh, bring me in for anything you need help for. But then people don't call you because they don't know when they need help, right? So over time, I had to be very specific on this is what I do and this is what I'm good at. And like now I'm in a way better position and I'm getting success, I'm getting referrals. But it really took about 3.5 years to this point.
I feel like this could also segue into a little bit on your perspective on career shifting slash downshifting. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I get very triggered when people tell me, oh, you downshifted your career. I think it's very triggering for me. A lot of people talk to me, say, oh, so used to be McKinsey associate partner, and now she has her own, like sort of, and then they talk down on what I'm doing. And it's triggering. And I think it's David Rock who has this SCARF model. One of the things is status. So it's triggers our status. And even in my LinkedIn, it still says ex McKinsey. It also is like sort of a marketing thing, but obviously there is a status part that still feels that I'm linked to that firm and how I have developed as a leader. But I find it triggering when we say downshifting, and they're really thinking from what is actually success in a career. I actually am as ambitious for having a successful career as I have ever been before. I have just decided to take a different pathway to get there. I still want to build my company eventually to, I don't know, $100 million company and go IPO, but not in the next 3 years. It's a different type of game that you're playing, that you're betting on. But I am as ambitious for having some kind of success. It's still important to me. I have a strong opinion that this world is not designed for successful women in employed roles in these big companies. It's literally about swimming upstream. Of course, there are some exceptions here and there, and we all try to praise some of these companies' best place to work for women. But the whole notion that you have a child and 4 months later or 6 months later back to work to be there from 8 in the morning till 6 in the evening and have calls in the night, like,
Mhm.
it's like I wanted to design my own life and have that flexibility.
Yeah. So FedExing your breast milk wasn't an option.
Like just after I gave birth, maybe 2 months later or 1 month later, we had like a lunch and something. And then there were all kinds of women who were pregnant or just gave birth. And they got excited about, oh, we have a new expense rule. And now your breast milk is FedEx from Indonesia to Singapore. So that your helper when you are away from your baby. And it's just in the car back, it made me cry because I was like, how can I be sitting in a hotel room in Indonesia pumping while for 4 days I don't see my child? Right now, this year, I have traveled. I've done 4 workshops in Kuala Lumpur, but it's my own business. I bring my son, I bring one of my helpers. And it has been fantastic. In the lunch break, I
Wow.
come to my room, I can be with my son for an hour. Then in the morning, he sleeps with me. After the program, I don't join for dinner, I go with my son. It's been fantastic. What a luxury that I've been able to create that. And I've seen some of my dear, dear colleagues try this in their own way, like bring their kids along. And I thought it was brave and courageous, and it wasn't perfect, but it worked. But it wasn't easy understood by the rest. And if it's not easy understood, people frown upon it. You got to fight for it. Can we expense this? Can we expense that? It's like I'm working overtime and I can expense my pizza, but I'm working overtime. Can I expense my babysitter? No, I cannot. This professional business world is not designed
Mm.
for women to be successful. Women are successful despite how it's designed. That says a lot about how resilient
Yeah.
women are. I didn't want to swim upstream. I swim in my own pool, having fantastic time, have the best clients, and I literally can run and design my life the way I want. I did my first workshop 4 days after giving birth to my son, but it was at home, online. I was
Wow.
breastfeeding. And then, 3, 2, 1, okay, give the baby. Hi, everybody. How you doing? And then 1 hour later, it was done, and I could walk away. And I couldn't do that in an employed role because people would have want something to say about how I spend my time. Yeah.
Yeah, you touched a little bit about being a foreigner in Singapore. Can you share some of your cultural expectations of parenthood that you had to shift perhaps because you're in a totally different environment?
I would say I would not want to be a mom anywhere else in the world than in Singapore. This is such a conducive place for me to do what I do. And I don't think I could do this in another country. I kind of like to say cultural surprises. And, you just see people do things different, which makes you then reflect and question why you do things the way you do. And that actually opens up for growth and learning. So I was the most unprepared mom you've ever seen. I didn't read up on breastfeeding or any of that stuff. That's all added up to me getting a postnatal depression because I was just hugely underprepared. I do feel that because I was in Singapore and having that exposure to other ways of doing this has been very beautiful because so many Singaporean friends, organizations that are there to help, lactation support, midwives, then a whole community of expats who all bring their own cultural ideas. Look, in the Netherlands, it's pretty normal to say your newborn sleeps in their own room, very tight schedule. A lot of people don't breastfeed after a few months, whatever. And here I am, like I have 3 kids that all co-sleep with me. I've pretty much been nonstop breastfeeding and pregnant for 5 years. It's so different, but I think because I was in Singapore, exposed to all these cultures, I could accept that it's okay to do something different. And I think that's been really beautiful. Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting. You being outside of your own culture has opened you to be receptive to different ways of being. And perhaps that's also fed into you stepping out to do your own thing.
Yes, I think they're probably related. And if there's anyone who's listening to this needs permission to just do what you think is right, please, by all means, do it, Because look, when we're 80 and we don't have long to live, there's nobody who's going to say, I wish I listened more to Auntie about like putting my baby on a schedule or more. Like, nobody knows, nobody cares. All of that is not relevant, but there's so much pressure on parents for doing it in a certain way. In the end, it's your life and how that matters for you. Make sure you are safe and, don't judge each other. Like I've never sleep trained because I find that really hard for me, but I have a lot of friends who sleep train and I get it. We do what works. We need to get through this day. Parenting is hard.
Exactly. And if you could share a little bit of that difficult time that you went through postpartum or even with your own business, and what do you do to get out of it?
Well, you just keep going. Look, it's really hard, but I think it was my sister who said, just every time tell yourself, this too shall pass. I've had really, really dark times and like, I don't want to talk too much about them, but I just want to say that I've had them, and when you feel like that, you have to find help. You need to talk to someone. And I cannot recommend my counselor enough. Without her, I wouldn't sit here being so happy. There is some real struggles for parents, not just for moms. Dads have it too, but we don't talk about it. So I really think first and foremost, get help and talk to professionals. That's what they are for. And then if it gets from very dark to a little bit lighter, just take it day by day. You got to celebrate the small successes. And I very often tell myself, wow, I'm doing this. This is the life I've been able to create for myself. I'm able to go for a walk in the middle of the day. I'm able to suddenly go home and go to my son if I want to. I want to be very, very selective in what I spend my time on because time is so precious when you have 3 kids. So, learning to say yes to this, not to that. For wherever I can, I outsource and I really, really focus on what gives me energy and do that as much as possible. I think as mothers specifically, but in general, also parents, part of this badge of honor if you can do it all by yourself. You need to throw out of the window right away because nobody is clapping for you like, oh, Sarah, great job. You didn't have any help. I look at my first 10 months, I didn't have any help because I needed to get around this idea of, okay, my child's going to be with somebody else, going to be different system than I'm used to seeing in the Netherlands. I need to wrap my head around it. But right now, I think getting help is the most important thing. One way of looking at it is to go down all of these rules that you've set for yourself and think which of these really matter. If nobody would ever find out that I clean my bedsheet only once every 2 weeks.
Somehow, maybe being a parent or just the trauma of having a child really throws light on these assumptions that we've been operating off very unknowingly. I
Yes.
think because it's such a destabilizing kind of event in our lives that
Yeah.
it questions so much of our identity,
Yes.
so much of how we value things, judge people, even judge ourselves. And which is the big reason why I'm even like doing this, right? Because I'm realizing that my own identity has been questioned because of this big change. And for me, specifically about work.
I think it's really good that you actually call this out. It is a traumatic, life-altering moment, and we're not allowed to talk about this because we're women, and you should love your baby. How can you say that? How can you be depressed? And like, there's so many women out there who don't have kids. How dare you say that this is difficult or traumatic? And this makes us hide with our own feelings because we're not allowed to have such feelings. Oh, you shouldn't choose to have kids. It's not like that. I love my kids. I wouldn't want it any other way. And yet I've struggled a lot. You can love your kids and at the same time struggle. And I think that is really, really okay. We need to allow ourselves and each other that is okay.
Yeah. I would also love, Anna, to hear about how you work with your spouse because you both are entrepreneurs. And to have two entrepreneurs in a house of three young kids is a mean feat. So tell us how you worked around finances or logistics.
Yes, I have very strong opinions about this because society's pressure about having the perfect support from your husband has added to my postnatal depression. I will be able to say that. And that's quite a big accusation. There's been so many successful women who have said the biggest thing for your career is find a husband who can fully support you and all of that. And then there's all these articles that say if your husband doesn't cook for you 4 times a week and doesn't bring the kids to sleep, and if he doesn't do the diapers at night, he's not the right husband. And that's not what my husband is like. And all this noise from society made me confused. Like, oh, does that mean he's not right for me? I have never loved anyone more in my life than him. And I feel that his own history, his own childhood, pressure from investors, from wanting to do right for himself, all of that adds up. And so I really have arrived at this notion that when it comes to parenting, like, I think in life, it all is about what do you enjoy doing most? What does your husband enjoy doing most? How can you help each other be the best version of yourself? A lot of times we fight with our spouse about things that are just our assumptions. Our assumption is that a kid needs to be in bed by 8. Our assumption is that you need to cook every single day. Reflect on those. My counselor, she's from Portugal, and she said, Anna, in Portugal, you go on the street at 11 p.m., people are still out. And the minute I heard that, I stopped forcing myself on bedtime routines because I was doing the bedtime routines. My husband, he was out for his business. And in the meantime, I was having this like, you owe me for this night. You owe me for that night. You owe me. And it really doesn't help. Like, he really struggled in the beginning changing poo diapers because there's just so much poo within him.
Yes, such a tiny being. Yes.
Like, in the middle of the night, this newborn wakes up. Then I'm awake because I need to feed her. Then I need to wake him up to change the diaper. No. And by the way, in the first 10 months of my first child, I didn't have any help. I had no helper. I had no babysitter, nothing. And right now with our third, we have 2 helpers. I barely change any poo diaper with him because I outsource it too. And then like at night, it's simple things. My husband, he will make me a tea. He will make me his best breakfast when I really need it. But that is, I think, way more healthy definition of love than saying, I did 5 poo diapers, now you got to do 5, This whole comparison, this whole like, we got to sit down to see if both of us have contributed exactly enough. I don't think that's fair. So I think what's getting in the way of us being really great partners as parents is that we have this deep need of like wanting to mathematically get to equality. And I think equality in a relationship is not a math. Typically, what you find most frustrating is not what I find most frustrating. That's where we can help each other. Like, it's simple things I'm really annoyed about that he loves to do. Where my darkest moments, he goes for a run, he takes the kids with a run, and he has a great time. And it's that matters so much more for me. And look, I come from the Netherlands. Dutch men are like the most equal men that you can find. And then I'm comparing my husband, who has such a different childhood, to this, like, global world standard of like most engaged dad you can have. Of course, he's not going to meet the bar. right? And that gets all kinds of frustrations. But right now, I think having humor, one more thing, appreciation, acknowledging and appreciation is really, really important. There's professors of INSEAD who've done cases on this. We both know I do more, and we both acknowledge, and there's no like trying to keep up our ego. We're very easy on that. Yeah. I think the feminists out there are going to kill me for saying this. My husband is not profiting out of me for this. This is as much as he can do with all his good intent.
I definitely learned the hard word too, that it's not mathematical. Like if you put everything together, yeah, you come to a place where you feel that there is that equity. But if you're talking about specific things like changing the pool or time, even at this point, it's not going to work. I had to be at peace to realize that we're just different people. And I like your thing about appreciation. I learned as well that I need to schedule in time to appreciate my husband. I actually put like a reminder on Wednesdays to encourage my husband, which sounds very unromantic, but I realized that, I need to be intentional about it.
Yeah, you do, because when you have kids, it's easy to forget about each other. And in the end, the only person who really chose you of your loved ones is your spouse. And for me, it is really that foundational part that him and me are strong together, that whatever hell breaks loose, we can laugh about it, like find some sort of way out. I think that's really important, that we can create opportunities for each other to live our best lives.
Well, that was gold. So if listeners want to connect with you, Anna, what
Yes.
areas do you like talking and learning about?
Connect, stay in touch, and just help make this a bit more gentle to each other. Like we're all just really trying to do our best. Let go of our own hard rules or judgments towards ourselves and towards each other, and help each other. If you want to do a training, you can always call me. Yeah, just I'd love to be in touch with anybody who is important as a topic, because really, I see you. I've been there. I'm still there. We're all just trying to get through this day.
Thank you so much, Anna. This was so fun. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.
That was Anna Breimer. What an honest, open, and fun conversation that was. I loved how Anna shared about being outside of her Dutch culture that really helped her to embrace different approaches to parenting and also encouraged her to step out to strike out on her own. I was also challenged by her advice to question the assumptions that I might be holding, and of course, to remember that equity in marriage is more than a math equation. I hope you found this conversation as engaging as I did.
And see you at the next episode of Make It Work.